Greetings everybody, my name is Chabakish and welcome to my HA Domino server setup and demo video. I would like to demonstrate you how you can set up multiple Domino servers in a high availability configuration, and I'm using haproxy at the moment. As a introduction, I have to tell you I tried to do it with Nginx. I started with Nginx when I set up my WebSocket server. After 3 days of trying to make Nginx work properly, I just gave up. I'm pretty sure it's my fault and it's possible to do exactly the same thing with Nginx. However, for this demonstration I'm using haproxy, which is a very small little software that you can download freely. However, haproxy is not available for Windows, so if you want to set up high availability Domino servers with haproxy, you will have to use a Linux server for your haproxy setup. Now, without further ado, let's try and go through this video. There will be lots of browser windows and lots of explanations. I hope I will be able to explain it properly. So let me just start with the conceptual server setup that I have. So as you can see, the information flow is coming from the outside world, from the internet. It hits the router, it goes to haproxy, and the haproxy transfers the data either to home Ubuntu or the Solus Domino servers, and all these servers are listening on port 8080, and they are obviously on a private network and they are not accessible to the outside world, but actually physically the home and Ubuntu and Solus are all connected to the router, but conceptually you can see that the data flow is this way. I have 3 Domino servers, 3 Domino community servers finally that we can have. The home machine is actually the machine that I'm using for recording this video. This is a Windows machine, a Windows 10. Then I have 2 Linux servers which are running on 2 laptops. One is called Ubuntu, which is an Ubuntu server, Linux, and then a Solus. So this is my Ubuntu server. This actually is the same. I mean, this is also the haproxy server. So when you look at here, the haproxy in the middle and the Ubuntu, it's practically on one laptop. So this is kind of, this slide is just a conceptual, not the physical setup of the servers. And here is my other Solus little laptop that's running Domino server as well, FP9, and they are replicating among each other every minute or so. And the whole point of the haproxy setup is that when a user hits your website, if for some reason one of your Domino servers goes down, haproxy detects this and basically seamlessly transfer the users from one server to another. And what I want to use this word seamlessly because this should be invisible to the user, so the user shouldn't know, it doesn't have to know whether you're on the home server or Ubuntu or the Solus server. So first let's look at the Domino servers, how they are set up. So let me bring in my Domino admin. And you can see that you can disregard this server. This is my remote server by Prominic, and I'm very grateful that they provide me a cloud Domino server. But at home, you see I have another one, a CentOS server setup, but I don't use it right now. So right now for this demonstration, we will use 3 Domino servers, the home, the Solus, and the Ubuntu, and they are all set up in my own organization called Chaba. Now, if you look in the connections, that I have a replication going on between them. So every half a second, it doesn't understand half a minute. I think it replicates every minute. So in every minute, the servers communicate with each other and replicate 2 NSFs, the ha.nsf, which we will use for the demonstration purposes, and also the names.nsf. In order to demonstrate how cool it is to have these high availability servers, I wrote a little application, an X-Page application that I will log in to now, and I show you how cool it is to have these set up. So I open a Chrome window and I log into my Ubuntu server. I use my name. Okay, let's put this little window up in the corner. So when I'm connecting to the server, you see this little application. I can send messages here. I can say hi from Solus. So you see at the moment I'm connected to the backend of the Solus server of the 3 servers that I have. So this little application always shows which server backend you are showing. Obviously for your users they don't really care about it, but just for the demonstration purposes you can see that this is now the Solus server. If I open another window, since the server, the haproxy server, is set up with a round-robin load balancing, which means that if I log in, it should hit another server to balance the load on the servers. Now I'm using self-signed certificates for the homework, so it doesn't matter that the site is not secure. If I log in with my son, let's see, you see I'm now hitting the Ubuntu server. Let's put this up in the corner right there, and let's open a third window and Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Let's log in as Robert. Let's look at that. Okay, where is my window? Okay, let's put it in the bottom. Okay, now see what you see here is that you see all these servers, or all these applications in the browser windows connect to different servers. This one is connecting to the Solus, this one is connecting to Ubuntu, and this one is connecting to home. Now let me just bring in my server window, which shows the replication, how it's going. If I find it, hang on a second. Where are you? There it is on the bottom. Okay, let me put it in the corner. So now we have 4 windows going on here. Cool. So let's say that I want to send a message from here. Yes, say hi from Solus. I submit the message. It will show here. So you can see that this message is already generated from the Solus server. This is the message itself, and I'm the user here, the author here. So now we wait for the replication between the other servers, and then hopefully, obviously, they will show up in the other servers as well. So if I refresh now the home, it doesn't show on the home server because right now the message only exists on the Solus server. So by now replication has occurred from all 3 servers, and you can see that in all 3 browser windows I can see the messages. Let's just send out another message from, let's say, from Ubuntu here. I send out the message. Now while we wait for the replication, let me show you one cool thing that haproxy provides you. This is called a monitoring tool. You can enable this in haproxy. I will show you how to do that, and I provided the URI called stats, and if I go to this URI on my server, I get this little page that shows me all the backend servers and front-end servers that I have. All my backend servers are called the nodes, and you can see that they're all green. You have home, Solus, and Ubuntu here, and every time, well, actually I don't know how often, probably every 1 second, haproxy pings these servers to test whether they are still alive or not. So I see that again replication occurred between our servers. So if I refresh my pages, they should my messages should appear also here. So you can see that, yeah, Peter sent out a message at 10:51 from Ubuntu, the Ubuntu servers, and you can see that all the messages occur. So I mean, so far nothing special, right? I mean, it's very nice that we have 3 servers replicating in the background, and 3 users are connecting to 3 different servers. But let's say that there's a huge storm, and our server on the Solus server, our hard disk explodes and it just goes down. So right now Solus is down because I closed my laptop. Let's see if I refresh my monitoring tool what happens. I refresh the monitoring tool, so you see it's, hey, hang on a second, Solus is going down, it goes yellow. And probably if I refresh now again it turns red. So now the Solus server is not available. So what do you think would happen if I go into my top left window and refresh this page? You can see at the moment I'm connected to the Solus server. Once I refreshed it, you can see that it seamlessly went to the Ubuntu server. haproxy noticed that, hey, the Solus server is not available anymore, so it just shoves the user to another server. Now what you also notice that that was completely seamless. The reason I went from Solus to Ubuntu and it didn't ask for any login information was because I enabled SSO, single sign-on, on all the 3 servers. So now you can see that I'm on the Ubuntu server. If I send out a message from here again, again, Ubuntu second message, I send it out. Obviously, if I refresh this page here, it will be there because I'm connected to the same server. If I go to the home server, it's not there yet. You can see that in the replication window it tells me that, hey, hang on a second, there's something wrong. I cannot replicate with the Solus server because it's down. Hopefully now it did the replication. Now I have all the messages on the home server as well. Now what I also want you to note is that whenever I refresh a page, it always stays on the same server. This is called the stickiness or persistence. You can also set this up very easily with haproxy. So whenever I refresh a page, if that server is available, it will stick to that server. It doesn't go away from that server. So if I refresh now the home page, it goes back, you see? Now, so this stays on Ubuntu right now. So now we have 2 servers running. Solus is down. Let's throw another curveball. Let's shut down the home server. I just tell HTTPQ. So the home server web server part is down. Let's bring back the monitoring tool. Actually, and then let's see what happens if I refresh it. You see the HTTP server shut down. I refresh it. You can see that the home is red. Actually, Solus is supposed to be red as well. Yeah, Solus is red. So now we only have 1 server available. Let's see if I refresh the home page, what happens. Don't need you. Again, you can see that how seamlessly it changes from one server to another. Now all the 3 browser windows are on Ubuntu. So I think that's it for the demonstration. I hope I showed you how cool it is to have this seamless integration of the 3 servers. Now let's see how it's been done. So let's look at the Domino server again, how it's set up with my 3 servers. Here are all the server documents. You can see the home, the Solus, and the Ubuntu servers. As I mentioned before, they replicate with each other. This is the scheme that I'm using. It's pretty simple. Every minute it does the replication. The important thing here is in the web server configuration, all 3 servers have identical setup. So if I look in the Domino server, the important part is in the ports. You can see that in the internet ports, I use port 8080. I don't use SSL, and the SSL port status you see is disabled because the TLS SSL conversion, the HTTPS, is happening at the haproxy level, and once we get beyond the haproxy, all the traffic is unencrypted. So the other important things are in the internet site documents. You can see that the web SSO configuration is enabled, which is the single sign-on. You can see that the participating servers are home, Ubuntu, and Solus. It takes about 2 minutes to set this up, or even less than that. You click on the create web SSO configuration. In the keys, you create a new Domino key. You name your LTPA token, whatever you want to name it, and then you add the servers that you want it to be participated. Once you've done this, you will get this document here, the web SSO configuration, and when you open your individual internet sites in the home, in the Domino web engine, instead of single server, you have multiple servers SSO enabled. So this is on the Domino side. Now let's go to the Linux side. So I already logged into my Linux Ubuntu using PuTTY. On the right side you see the haproxy configuration that I'm using, and we will go through line by line to see how you set up with the high availability servers. Now, in order to install haproxy on an Ubuntu server, all you do is say sudo apt-get install haproxy. Now, since I already installed it, obviously it will not reinstall it for me. Now, you have the haproxy installed on your Linux system, but it's not active yet. And the way you enable it, for example, to start at boot time, you use the system control program, and you say enable haproxy. Now basically you added a little script to the load up scripts when Ubuntu starts up, so haproxy will start when you start your computer. You can also stop haproxy and start using system control with stop haproxy. Now it's stopped, and you can also start it. You can also check whether the configuration that you are using is working or not. Once you installed it, obviously you have to edit your config file. For that, I usually just use Midnight Commander because I don't like typing and I don't like VI. So you have to go to your etc folder, and in the etc folder there will be an haproxy folder, and inside you can see that there are a few files here, and the haproxy config is that I'm using right now, which you actually can see on the right side. It comes with an original, I just renamed it badly here, which should be haproxy.conf, don't worry. So I have a copy of the original file here, so this is what it comes with. Now you can see that if we look now line by line at the current haproxy configuration, you can see that I didn't even touch the global settings. It's exactly how the default came out. In the defaults, I changed a couple of things here. This is the option forward 4 that we need, and also the option HTTP server close. In earlier versions of haproxy, I think it just used to be HTTP server, but HTTP server close, I think, is just terminating the TLS. I'm not quite sure exactly what it does. Now again, you can see that the other lines here are just again coming from the default settings right here. Now the interesting thing here is these 4 lines here where I enabled the haproxy monitoring tool. I defined the URI as stats. So if I go to my server/stats, the monitoring site comes in, and it requires an authentication. I just use Java username and Java password for the authentication. Down here, the error file, you can see that it just comes directly from the default config file. I didn't touch it. And now let's look at the front ends and the back ends of the haproxy. So you see that on the insecure side, I'm listening on port 80, and my front end is called www/http, and the secure side is called https, and that is listening on port 443. Now this line 49 here handles the SSL authentication or authorization. In Nginx, usually it's done by 2 lines. You have the certificate and the private key in 2 separate files. In the case of haproxy, they combine the 2 files together. The cert is on the top, the private key is on the bottom, and it's just a single file, and that handles all the TLS stuff. This line 50 basically just tells the server that, you see on the load balancer there's insecure traffic, there's just HTTP traffic, but if there was an HTTPS traffic coming in, it will forward the HTTPS header for the insecure HTTP traffic to know that actually this is the secure communication. And you can see that whenever the front end is done, it just forwards everything to the backend, the default backend called nodes. And the backend nodes is defined right here from 50, line 53 to 65. Now you can see that the important thing here is the line 56 is the balance. At the moment we use round robin, which is the simplest way of doing the load balancing. If you have 3 servers, the first user comes in, it goes to server 1, then the second one goes to server 2, then the server 3, and then the fourth one just goes around and then around. Now you can define much more sophisticated schemes. You can load balance by connection, you can load balance a lot of different ways. It's up to you to decide which is good for you. Now the interesting thing here is the line 58. You see, this is a cookie. When we set a cookie. Now I told you that whenever you go to a server and you refresh your page, it will not bounce you around on different servers, but once you connect it to the server, and if that server doesn't go down, you will stay with that server. So this is what's responsible for it. What it does, it inserts a cookie, which I just name mine the sticky cookie, and then it's inserted into the application, and then it will be residing there. I will show you in a moment in the application how it's done. These are just two headers, custom headers to forward, the port header and the HTTPS header. Now, and this is an important part, the line 61. This enables haproxy to ping the servers, and this is the method it uses to see whether the server is alive. Now, I'm talking about haproxy now in 2017, but Jesse Gallagher already did block series back in 2014, and this line is coming from his block series, which were excellent. So basically what I'm doing is I'm requesting a head check on the names.nsf with login action, and that provides just a little small internet traffic from the backend server back to haproxy that yes, I'm still alive, yes, I'm still alive, I'm still here. So this is what is checking for the live servers. And now on line 63 and 65, you can see that that's where my servers are located. So I have my home server, my Solus, my Ubuntu. These are the addresses, and you can see that this is port 8080, which is set exactly the HTTP port of the Domino server. And you can see that I want to check whether they are alive, and then I want to set a cookie, which is my sticky cookie, and whenever I'm connected to the home server, the value of the cookie should be home. Whenever I'm on the server Solus, this cookie should be Solus. The only thing I haven't shown you how the cookies work in the web application. So let me just bring back my browser window. So you see that I logged in as Chaba into the server, and I'm connected to the Ubuntu backend server. Now if I open my developers tools, you can see that we actually have 4 cookies here. The session ID is just the normal session ID that Domino provides. The LTPA token is the SSO token that is used for authentication if the backend is changing. And here is the sticky cookie, which we set in right here in the cookie sticky cookie insert no cache. And since I'm connected to the Ubuntu server, the cookie sets the value of the cookie to Ubuntu. So whenever I refresh the page, it always sticks to Ubuntu. Actually, we can fool it if I on the fly change it to this to home, and now refresh the page. You can see that now it goes to the home server, backend server. If I change to Solus, so actually my Solus is down. I don't know what will happen. Let's see if I refresh the page, and it goes to no. You see the Solus server is down. If I go back to my stats, you can see again. Let's log in. You see that the Solus is not available. And even though I changed the cookie to Solus, it went to a different server, to Ubuntu. So I think that's all the demonstration and the instructions how to set up the haproxy for yourself. As I mentioned, I tried with the Nginx, and after 3 days I gave up. I had a lot of issues. I'm sure the fault is with me, not with Nginx, because it's a perfectly fine product. What I want to mention also that haproxy is completely free. Nginx does not come with this live checking built in. In order to have that, you have to have the Nginx Plus, which can be quite pricey after a while. Now, there are other open source plugins for Nginx that you can use as well. But as I said, I was not able to set up Nginx. Now, haproxy is much lighter. It's only a reverse proxy. It doesn't do web page serving. It's not an HTTP server as Nginx. So if you want static pages served from your site, or if you want caching, or if you want more fine-tuned settings, Nginx probably is a better solution. But also you can combine the two together if you want also static pages, but you want to handle the load balancing with haproxy. There's absolutely no reason not to just have Nginx as the first HTTP server that will come in. It forwards the traffic to haproxy, and then haproxy forwards the traffic back to Domino. It doesn't make it too much more complicated, and since these are very lightweight little programs, it will not kill your servers either. So I hope you learned something today, and if you have any comments, please in my blog post just right below, and I will post the proxy configuration in my blog post. Bye-bye.